Let's go ahead and talk about the deck lists here for coming up match. We have Firebat versus Bloodyface. Firebat is the 2014 World Champion. He has the Mage, which apparently, according to Sottle, who was watching Firebat stream, he played for 2 hours up against Bloodyface's lineup, which he lost 1 time in total.
The games that we've seen Warrior beat Mage aren't the games where they just, maybe one of them was like, just out-resource them and attrition them out of the game by removing their stuff. Every single other time that we saw Warrior beat Mage was just they played minions. They just played their curve and smacked them and won with bombs later on down the line because of the lack of healing in the Mage deck. That seems to be the most efficient way to beat the Mages. And even then, it doesn't work out all the time, or even most of the time, I'd say. So this is the one, Dan. I don't care about anything else that happened early on today or early yesterday or actually in the history of Hearthstone. I don't care. This match right here determines who's favored in the matchup, Warrior or Mage.
It's a lot of pressure on Bloodyface. But,
it is a ton of pressure.
He was very vocal about it on Twitter. And the more I got to know Bloodyface in Taiwan, the more I realized how opinionated he was. And he says that it's not that he thinks that pro players are wrong, it says that he thinks that they're too ingrained in their ways and they're not open-minded enough. And so he says that he feels like one of the things that separates himself is that he's willing to go against the pack and firmly believe it. You know, some players, they might disagree here and there, but if enough pro players tell them, you know, let's say you're in a practice group with Seiko and Hunter Ace and you know, Viper and Bunny Hopper, and they're all like, no, I'm pretty sure, like, Mage is favored. Eventually, I'm just going to be like, okay, you guys are right. I'm not going to, like, argue with you anymore. But I think a player like Bloodyface will staunchly defy them and be like, no, I think you guys are all wrong. Like, I understand where you're coming from. I just think you're wrong.
Yeah, much.
And I respect that. Firebat drawing cards with the Arcane Intellect, trying to set up an anti-turn 4 removal option here for Bloodyface. Bloodyface, by the way, did something really cool. He pretended like he was going to coin out a shield slam with the hero power. And that's something that I know Firebat reads into a lot. Like, Firebat is very big on the hand reading. And in fact, he was one of the first players back in 2014 talking about hand reading and the importance of it. And then, of course, some players were arguing like, it's Hearthstone, you don't really need to hand read. And to which Firebat's like, all right, you keep thinking that, I'm going to keep winning tournaments. And he did for another year. People think 2014 was peak Firebat. He actually won more tournaments and more money in 2015, even though the World Championship in 2014.
Yeah, I believe he was the first player to win back-to-back tournaments with Gfinity, or back-to-back of kind of a single event.
Yeah, but I mean, he played against EU players, so
what do you expect, right?
You're Entity. Nice. You know, most of the times your opponent's going to be looking to put out a rush minion in this board state. Wonder how he's going to utilize these. Because he doesn't have Conjurer's Calling. Looks like he just wants to draw cards and fill his hand to get closer to Conjurer's Calling.
The future is ours.
Got a giant, got Arcane Jansenitis. The engine is there.
Behold the tools of creation.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Ooh.
Behold the tools of creation.
So I think he has to actually dump the used Ray of Frost or an Arcane Missiles here.
Yeah, I don't know which one's better because Ray of Frost has better interactions. Bloodyface also has Acolyte of Pain in the deck. Arcane Missiles may be a liability later on. Oh yeah, that's the one.
I mean, Sinister Strike would be a sick Mage card, but I think Firebat cared more about the board state. Militia Commander looks pretty nice from this perspective from Bloodyface. Get to squeeze into hero power. As you heard from Muzzy during his interview, life total does matter when it's Mage versus Warrior. I mean, life total always matters in a game of Hearthstone, but when it comes down to it, in this matchup where they try to eventually lobby the burn upstairs if they can't win the board. Yeah, coincidentally plays into his Cone of Gold very nicely. And now Firebat can push a little bit extra damage. He can even play the Mana Cyclone here if he wants to utilize that Ray of Frost. Fill up his hand even more. He doesn't really need an extra card here. Because he's still pushing with his Mountain Giant, although burning a Conjurer's Calling would sting. The idea is, though, is that Bloodyface has cards that are not exactly applicable in this situation.
If you lose the brawl, next turn you go Archmage Tinnitus, Mirror Image, Ray of Frost.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think you complain if their 2/2 survives either, because it's just a little bit extra damage.
That chips off the extra armor that Bloodyface would gain. That gives you those extra fireballs. So
Yep.
this is what Dog was talking about earlier, where it just feels like you need early game pressure, and then you need the removal, and then you need Dr. Boom plus life gain to stabilize.
Right. Which is so unusual because Warrior's a class that has so much removal options, and yet it feels like they don't have enough. Brawl can go disastrously if the 8/8 survives. Oh, just barely. And in fact, Bloodyface has the Acolyte survive, which means that he'll have additional card draw opportunities. Going with the Wrench Caliber means that Firebat can go for a double fireball.
Yep.
He can Mirror Image and then Snap Freeze, or even just Ray of Frost. Yeah, just freeze the minion to prevent it from drawing. Or even just Snap Freeze and kill it. Aha!
Yeah, I think Snap Freeze to kill it to deny the draw. Like, let's say he Warpaths and then Dr. Booms. I don't know. He'd have to have a lot here.
It's mapped out to 13 damage.
Yeah. So Bloodyface needs shield block. And that's not it. He has the Omega Devastator to deal with the Archmage Tinnitus, but it'll be at exactly 13. Which means double fireball plus ping will end the game.
Yeah, beautifully done. Yeah, Firebat able to go on this line and map out exactly when he could target Bloodyface's life total. But that's what we were discussing. You know, as much as Warrior can be liberal with their life totals, and Bloodyface actually got Firebat down to 11.
Oh, got them both.
This is still closer than it actually looked.
Yeah. Kind of funny. Bloodyface hoping for a miracle. Hoping that the 2014 World Champion does not know how to count to 13.
Turns out he does, and that's game one over to Firebat. You know, it's also dope having Dr. Boom in your opening hand. It's pretty sick.
You know, it's triple dope. The fact that this matchup for the rest of eternity determines who's favored against Mage versus Warrior.
You know what's quadruple dope? Having Stargazer Luna played on the coin.
The future
2 games in a
is
row.
ours.
You know, it's infinity dope. Nothing.
You know, it's
That's
infinity
impossible, Dan.
times infinity times Googleplex dope.
Ooh. Bloodyface counters with the Acolyte of Pain. Firebat's got to go into the tank. This Arcane Intellect's going to draw 3 cards.
So it's basically Book of
Behold
Specters,
the
but just
tools
with no
of
downside.
creation.
And 1 more mana.
Oh. See, now this is the hand that I think Firebat was missing the previous game. As much as, of course. Wow, this is some fireworks. All right, so is it Twilight Drake or is it Giant Time? He has the double Conjurer's Calling, so I feel like Twilight Drake is better.
Yes. There's 1 Spellbreaker. There are 2 Big Game Hunters. You do the math.
Mountain Giant, Conjurer's Calling. That is a heck of a turn 5.
Wow.
I've ever seen one.
And good recognition because Bloodyface can deal with 1 of these with Big Game Hunter, but he cannot deal with 2.
Right, and he has 2 more Conjurer's Calling to really press in here. Now, Bloodyface still has a way to answer one. He could shield block, hero power, shield slam one, let the other person deal with it, and then Big Game Hunter afterwards. Or he can Big Game Hunter now, but it's not mana efficient.
Yeah, and it also gives Firebat something to trade into and get value trade. I think Firebat would want to push damage anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like the mana efficiency. It's gonna be tough for Bloodyface. 1 swing like this, and all of a sudden Firebat looks like the favorite.
I mean, if he had also had Super Collider, this was answered. He also knows his second Conjurer's Calling, so definitely a tough pill to swallow here for Bloodyface. No Brawl, no Super Colliders. Firebat gonna use the Twin Spell version of the Conjurer's Calling. I'm just gonna reveal the other one. Forget it. If he has Brawl, he has it.
Bloodyface.
Yeah, you're definitely not favored against that kind of opening.
Yep.
It's not. I don't think it's a matchup thing. I think this is just what Mage can do.
No, Dan, this is a matchup thing. This
When
determines
they double
it. I said it.
evocation, Conjurer's Calling on 5.
Yeah, I said it. If
I
I
mean-
said it, it must be true.
He's not out of it.
No, but yes.
Not
he's out
yet.
of it.
Sorry, he's not out of it just yet. But it's looking pretty bleak.
Yep. Dr. Boom into shield block exactly Brawl.
Well, there's 23 facing on board. He's at 23 life, so he has to do something. He can't just.
Yeah, well,
Hope.
he could Big Game Hunter hero power, but then he just trades over the Big Game Hunter, pushes 8, and Conch Calling. So, Dr. Boom and then shield block Brawl. Like, that's my thinking. But then no, because that won't work, because then you need a way to deal with no, it will, because shield block gains 5 additional health. Everything seems bad, Dan. Everything's bad. And Bloodyface knows not only is this, if he loses this game, it's going to be a loss for Grandmasters, but boy, is he going to take some flack on social media.
I mean, I don't think this is grounds for him to decide what a matchup
It is absolutely not.
It's,
And
it's the extremities of any
Yeah.
kind of deck, what they're capable of pulling
Yeah,
off.
I jokingly said it earlier that this defines it, but it's very difficult to play around coin Giant Conjurer's Calling on 5
Right.
and not have drawn Brawl or Super Collider at that point in the game. Not
Firebat
bad.
gets another Conjurer's Calling off the Tomb of Intellect. One more! Aww. I just wanted him to have just like just non-stop waves of Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah.
And Firebat gonna press in here. No need to actually utilize it one more. The optimal play is actually just to ping and pass.
Yeah.
Because then he's resilient against Brawl. All right, why not?
Yeah.
He's showing it to him. Good guy, Firebat. Telling Bloodyface, you're not winning this game, man. I'm sorry.
All right, so here's the out. Vicious Scrap Pound? Nope. He needed to draw Brawl and then Vicious Scrap Pound and win the Brawl. And then try and stabilize with Shield Block and other things. Because even Brawl there would have most likely left an 8-8 and then Ping would have killed him. But Firebat takes the victory. Mage coming up clutch once again. And defeating Bloodyface's Warrior. I do have to say, I love the way that Bloodyface played that game number 2. He put up a great fight, but this is why Mage is so popular. Powerful turns like this, while, yes, you know, you can call it rare, but the Conjurer's Calling Mountain Giant package is why the deck is so strong.
Let's go ahead and talk to Firebat, actually. He's waiting on the line. Firebat, can you hear us? All right, I think you can hear us, but we can't hear you. Your mic might be muted.
Okay, can you hear me? Sorry,
Yes.
I had it muted for the match.
No worries. In practice, we heard that you basically didn't drop like a single, or you dropped one game to Bloodyface.
One game.
during a long
Yeah.
practice session. Did you sweat at all the fact that Bloodyface actually beat you in game 2, and you're like, oh man, I hope I don't lose, because after all the practice, I was getting all these wins against him.
No, I felt pretty confident all the way through. You know, Mage can fizzle out, it can drop a game. The first 2 games were pretty tough. Conjurer's Calling, bottom 10, both of my first 2 games. That's kind of the most important card of the deck. So first game, I had to like throw the Giant out there, knowing he has BGH in his deck on turn 8, and do that AI. Like that turn was so hard to figure out, because I like so badly wanted to save the Giant, because if I draw the Conch Calling, I could win. But if I don't go in with the Giant now, then he makes it to a Mega Devastator mana, and things get really weird. And I'm also surrendering the board. So I think the matchup's really interesting, and more so than anything, it boils down to early minions and board control, which is super strange, I think. In practice, the deck list of Bloodyface that worked best against my deck list wasn't the one with double Super Collider, double BGH, but the one with more 3-drops. It's kind of funny how that works out, but I think board control is key. And another thing, I think the Warrior decks want to run 2 mana, gain 6 armor, get 2/3 weapon, because that kills Sorcerer's Apprentice if they just drop it out there. I was coining Luna, dropping Sorcerer's Apprentices on 2, things like that are insane for the Mage when they don't have that card, because they can't punish it in any way. And then occasionally, the card you top deck off Luna, maybe it's something you can play. Then all of a sudden you're at a huge advantage.
Yeah, no, it seemed like you and Muzzy and a few other people who were doing these like really fast tempo plays on the board and punishing the Warriors for being very slow end up working out really well. So nice job there. Do you lean towards like the Mage being favored over the Warrior, or do you feel like it's decklist dependent, or perhaps you haven't decided yet?
I mean, everything's decklist dependent, but when we were doing testing, we brought in a lot of experts. So I want to shout out the experts that helped us test Mage.
Sure.
We brought in APX Void to be the guy playing Mage, and then we set APX Void up against a gauntlet of people. We had Greg, who only ladders with Warrior, Death Star V3, who only ladders with Hunter. We had Salissa's Shaman come in and try and beat the Mage, and we had the Bomb Hunter come in, and then we were trying to recruit random people that placed well in Open Cups to join the call and play the deck they did well with in the Open Cup to see if it beat Mage. And we did this for like 10-ish hours, and Mage never got below 50% win rate. There are matchups that are very tough for Mage, for sure, but at the same time, it's like, do I want to bring a deck that counters Mage if it only counters it and has like 50% win rate with it, and have worse matchups, or why wouldn't I just bring Mage? So I think the worst possible case happened with my pairings, which is everyone main deck targeted Mage, and I still got the W, and Zalay still got the W. So it is my belief at this moment that Mage is actually overpowered and a little broken, and targeting Mage is worse than just playing Mage.
All right.
Did you get any practice in against the Holy Wrath Paladin?
Yes, I did not get the Elven Archer Holy Wrath Paladin, though. That tech looks super sick from Frozen. Yeah. And one of the things about what we did against the Holy Wrath Paladin was you'd get the Giant down, and so then they'd want to play 5 mana to make it, what's it called? What's the 5 mana card they play?
Shrink Ray.
Shrink Ray, yeah. So they want to Shrink Ray it, but they can't Shrink Ray it unless they can also kill the 1/1, because otherwise you Conj Calling, and then they're in a disaster zone again. So the Elven Archer allows them to pick off that 1/1. Otherwise, you sit there holding your Conjur's Calling in your hand, and they sit there holding their Shrink Ray, and you sneak in a bunch of 8s, and then you play Archmage Antonidas and get a few fireballs and win the game. I think Archmage Antonidas is like one of the most key cards in Mage. You saw I kept it in the mulligan every game. That card is insane. If you can set up a situation where you get it down before turn 10, it usually wins you the game. So I think against Paladin, it's super core that you have that. And if you have that, you're pretty close to being able to take the matchup. But we didn't try the Elven Archer tech. I think that's a beautiful tech and maybe puts it in Paladin's favor.
Wow, Elven Archer. Elven Archer, of all things.
About that card.
I had one last question. In that 10 hours of testing, you said nothing got really above 50% against the Mage, but what did the best?
Mech Hunter with double Eaglehorn Bow. The Eaglehorn Bows are when they freeze your board, you'd still have something to do. Yeah. Because we noticed a lot of times they play double Frost Nova and the Ray of Frost, so you'd build your mechs up and they just freeze all of them, and then you'd be like, shoot, all I have to do is hero power and play more things, which then they freeze. Because the last 3 turns of the game, they're just sitting there freezing the board. So you just Eaglehorn Longbow them, Eaglehorn Bow them in the face, and makes up. It's like you got 3 Leroys in your deck. That deck did pretty well, but then we were like, what if they play something that's not Mage, and then we're playing Mech Hunter with Eaglehorn Bows? And we're like, that sounds scary, right? It's like the decks that beat Mage seem really bad in a lot of matchups.
Not even that much time to think and adapt before the mech event comes in and once again throws a wrench into the metagame. So, definitely a nice job so far, Firebat, and good luck in your next match in week 2.
Thank you.
Great explanations and breakdown. One thing that I admire the most about Firebat is that he is willing to share his winning strategies and edges with anybody that will listen to it, even his opponents, which is something that he admits that is not the smartest thing to do if he wants to keep his competitive edges, but he's always willing to open up his brain for insight, which is why I think people love to watch his stream, because he's so educational and well spoken about it.
Don't get me started on f***ing interactive, man.